Hello everyone, I am Tacit, and today I'm going to be going over the new Gems of War Mythic of the Bieska. So this thing is in the Glory Gem Guild and VIP chest for this week only, and then it'll be in the drop table with everything else, so you have until the end of Thursday, all the way until Friday reset time. As far as this troop is concerned, it is okay, pretty middle range. It will definitely find its use for some things. Its most noteworthy aspect is probably its final trait. It inflicts bleed and terror onto a random enemy when matching for an extra turn, and while there aren't really terror or bleed boost ratio teams in the current state of the game, there aren't too many things that can apply terror, so this is among pretty much one of the best things that can end up doing so if you want to end up utilizing the mechanic. Terror, of course, being anything inflicted by it will have a chance of either moving down, or if they're all the way in last slot, to flee the battle. And this is pretty useful as it does trigger on turn 1, unlike things like Deathmark and Lycanthropy. It doesn't have a 1-turn delay, so you can keep spamming this and it will immediately trigger every single turn to try to kill out their last slot. So it has that going for it, which is pretty nice. It also has a really bulky attack relative to its category, so this is likely something you're not going to be using against everything. It is likely something you're only going to be using on any of the newer restriction kind of modes that we've been having lately. Mostly Urskaya, Urska, and Daemon. Particularly Urska and Urskaya. In these categories, there aren't too many other damage sources that you might have access to that are really strong. Like comparatively in this category, it's like all mythics basically. So if you happen to be missing all of them, well, then you don't really have one. But if you have this mythic, but missing all the other mythics, then, well, you do have one. So it's mostly going to be used in those kind of restrictions for PvP and other similar game modes. Obviously, when we're in Urskaya event week, he'll probably be used for Underspire, stuff like that. And he has a pretty nice range in what he can do for damage. He deals a bunch of splash damage to 3 random enemies. Splash damage, normal splash damage, is 50% to the 2 adjacents. So he'll hit 3 randomly and then hit 50% to adjacent of all those things that he hits randomly. So ideally he hits the middle 2, as would maximize the attack damage that he does. Though if he hits first or final slot, he will end up losing out on some small amount of his damage, but you have no control where the hits end up going. And then it's also boosted by enraged allies, which normally wouldn't be the best mechanic and is a relatively low number. But for how many times he's hitting, and the fact that a lot of teams that you're using him on will probably have a lot of free enrage if you're doing it in Urska and Urskaya, as most things there have either enrage mechanic for themselves or the entire team. So he will get this boost ratio pretty easily in the context of the teams that he's normally using, even though the average team doesn't normally spam enrage. And then he also gains enrage himself, so he doesn't really have much to synergize with that extra skull damage, but extra skull damage still better than not extra skull damage. So his ability, of course, biggest downfall, no follow-up at all, and also a boost ratio that isn't really that big, but basically no follow-up, so he can't get extra turn off of anything. So whenever you do his ability, he will end up ending his turn. However, this does give him the full range of combat from the middle to low range, as far as his ability, as far as what can kill, and in the high range, when he can end up killing things with terror. So he can be an all-rounder in that kind of regard, and kind of fill every single role that you need as a damage source. So he is set up really good to be a solo damage source with a bunch of mana accumulators. So he does have that going for him. But for the most part, you're really only using him under the given restrictions, and very, very rarely are you going to be using him as your primary damage source compared to the many, many other things currently in the state of the game. Of course, Event Key is still miss a skill, so do not try opening those. However, Takshaka is still in there for a few more days, worth mentioning, though it is pretty low. There's 4 mythics in there. However, Glory Gem Guild and VIP chests, VIP chest, that one, are all shinyable for this guy. So let's go and start opening some. You know, let's do 200 at a time. See if we double pull them, though there's no need to have 2 of them on your team. There's not really a single context where you're ever going to double up or triple up or something on this guy. Actually, I shouldn't say that. If you do get 2 and you're under a scale restriction, there might be some situations where you run double of them. He could work. That would only really be worth it if you're missing like every other thing, like Karandara and Rage Karandara, all that kind of stuff from the place. It's going to be one of those kind of weeks. Oh no, we're 1,600 in. There we go. Okay, that's not too bad. 1,600 for the Mythic. Could have been worse, and we did get just the one that we needed. Perfect. All right, let's go get this guy upgraded and start showing some teams, all of which will be in the description below if you want to go and copy-paste any of them. Let's go to our upgradable tab with all the things we don't have upgraded deliberately. Go replace him in. He uses the same coloration as Catches the Bull, oddly enough. Which is kind of funny because they do kind of have that that same category of ability to some degree. What do we need here? Oh wait, what am I doing? I want to orb him. Let's just go a bit of big orange on him, big green. Don't accidentally click the power. Actually, you know what? Fully metaling him wouldn't be horrible. Isn't he mage? Yeah, he is mage. Ooh. Ooh, you know what? We will fully metal him. We've gotten to the point where we basically fully metaled anything that's even remotely relevant. And generally speaking, almost every mage mythic is worth doing, unless they're just so obsolete that you're never going to use them in any context. And while we're not using this thing often, you know, next Urskaya event, we're definitely running this guy. So, you know what, we'll go to elite level him, make him a little bit stronger right now. Let's see his full potential. And, yeah, let's go see what he can do. So, this very first team that we're going to be doing is set up to be, pretty much the main context that you would actually use him in. This is a pure Urskaya team. So if you're actually realistically ever putting this guy into the team, this is pretty much what you're running. You're running whatever the strongest team you have that's built out of pure Urskaya. When you have either Urska restriction or an Urskaya restriction, as most Urskas exist in Urskaya. So regardless of which one, you're pretty much building the same team regardless for the most part, at least in the current state of the game. So of course, we do have that terror mechanic that can keep chipping them down, and if they get all the way to the bottom and end up triggering that, we will end up getting a kill there. One interesting thing about his ability, which we're actually going to show on the next one a little bit more, is if you can thin out the team, your chance of technically killing a unit will increase. He's really good when the team has less troops on it, if you can end up thinning out the opposing team. This is mostly due to how his ability works, where you want things to be adjacent to each other, but also because of how terror works, where you want them to be in last slot. And technically, a higher percent of their team is in last slot if you have killed things on their team. While your chance of killing with terror is the same, the chance that of how much of the team you're killing percent-wise is increased, even though the actual percent to kill has not increased. But the percent of the team that you're killing per terror kill has increased. But anyways, we'll go keep poking them out. We're just using one of the shields from Urskaya because, of course, under these restrictions, you would also be likely restricted to the weapon, unless you have unless you have Urska restriction instead of Urskaya restriction, in which case you can run any weapon, but you'd probably be running wand or something similar. So right here, we'll poke him for a heavy amount of damage. Still have knock on that Devour, but we can get a bunch of chipped here. Now that they're both right next to each other, we get a really high concentration of damage. And ideally, in this situation, we could actually just kill it with a Terror, which would be nice because I think this is the only battle we're really going to be able to get away with it. No, we'll probably get away with it on all of them. But these things just do not want to go get their mana up right now. Let's see. Yeah, we'll take that up. That'll give us our hit. That'll give us our mana. Come on, Terra. Get the kill. Let's see. Right here. Terra kill. Go. This might be our only opportunity. Go. Oh, you know, I'm going to pass a turn just to see if it'll do it. Come on. No. Okay, fine. We'll kill it. And then we'll just kill with the normal ability. But yeah, that's kind of what you would run if you have like an Urskaya restriction kind of thing. Next, we have ourselves the thinning team. So I was just kind of mentioning this mechanic. So we're actually going to thin from the top down. We're using wand, though you could use throw or something similar. We're mainly just doing this so we have a curse option, in case they do have immune to Devour, and of course immune to Terror as well, which would be able to bypass. But it works pretty much like any wand team. Use your Empower to get things going. Go and start devouring everything. Normally we want to be hitting first slot first, but the fact that we did get him in Tangle is a little unfortunate. I forgot. We're actually using... oh no, we're using Archer, is what I ended up doing. I was going to say, we're using Elementalist, but no, we're actually using Archer for Greenstorm. And because of that, we do have Entangle on first slot, which has kind of backfired a little bit here. Oh good, Terror hit the right thing. As I do want to go get our one Devour here, but ideally that would be on first slot, not on the other one. I guess we could still Devour it, we just don't gain the extra benefit necessarily. Like right now we still have our very low attack value, for example. But now that they're concentrated together, we can get our damage a little bit better, and we can just keep doing that. Terror will have a good chance of killing that last slot. Our damage is more concentrated now that there's less things on the team. And yeah, just keep thinning them out from the top down, basically. And just keep killing them out with Iron Gut. He could take skull damage after he gets his bigger skulls, which we could have done if we would have killed it with something that wasn't entangled. But right here, if we get our Devour, of course, his attack now goes to 100%. So we can start getting the insta-kills, and now our damage is even more concentrated, as it's guaranteed to hit those two, and it's doing 50% back and forth. And that's pretty much the game plan with them. Just keep thinning them out, and just keep prodding them over and over again with your poke damage, and keep not triggering Terror, as is pretty much every RNG mechanic. They never want to trigger. I am guaranteed we will not get a single Terror kill this video. But anyways, let's go down to the low rarity team. So I did go a little bit higher with this. I did end up using, for once, I sometimes do, sometimes don't. They're in a weird category, but the Terror cards are legends, but they're pretty easy to obtain legends, but you can go a very long dry streak on them. As long as you play a lot of Vault events, which 2 weeks from now, Vault event weekend. Which is it next week? Wait, I actually forget now. I know it's very soon. I think it's next weekend. What am I saying, 2 weeks? It would have been 2 weekends if this weekend hasn't happened yet. If you count this weekend. But yeah, next weekend, a week from now, I believe is Vault weekend. So we do have that to go get more of these. But anyways, we're using 2 Terror cards. Empress to give a bunch of magic to our last slot, which of course is our new Mythic of Bieska. And then we have ourselves Wand, because of course, Wand. However, if you don't have Wand, do like Box Strider or something. If you don't have Empress, another damage source could be perfectly fine. We're just using Empress so we could show off the Mythic a little bit more, as of course this is buffing up the Mythic. And this will allow it to get some pretty good value. We should be able to two-shot the enemy team. Just kind of want to get our mana going. We have Green Storm off of Archer in order to get our 13 plus we need for Empress. In order to have the higher chance. Actually, she isn't guaranteed at 13. Wait, actually, what is her guaranteed at? 14 is actually guaranteed, but the higher there are, the higher her chance will be to end up landing the extra turn. Like right now, it is guaranteed, so we get our guaranteed extra turn there. They're all entangled and everything. We then go for our pokes. Actually, I went for Elementals on this one, not Archer. Archer was the one I went on the other one, but either way, still works out. We'll go for our Convert here, get over our green, repeat the cycle again. Though I do want full mana before I do it. So we'll go for Wands. Unfortunately, almost full miss with Wands. Go for it again. Hopefully we'll have a ton of green on the board. Please, Wands, stop missing! Let's see. Okay, we have alignment, so I'm just going to go for this, get a ton of mana. That should be everything we need. Hopefully there's enough green to get our extra turn. It is. Then we go for our ability. Boom, boom, boom. Look at that, one shot. But yeah, that's pretty much the premise. Use Empress to get it up. Then just hit it for its very high amount of damage for its single target and 2/2 adjacents. For every magic it gets, it actually has an interesting magic ratio. I didn't really go over this when we were going over the troop. But if it was to effectively take max value for every hit, which it's not going to, but let's say hypothetically it did, since it's getting, since it's hitting 3 times, and each of those 3 hits are hitting for effectively 200% damage if each one of them do their full damage, he theoretically has a magic boost ratio of 6. So for every higher magic he has, he can deal up to a potential of 6 higher damage. However, realistically, that's going to be closer to what? You're doing 150% per adjacent. So you're hitting 3 times. So you're technically hitting for 4.5 times his magic on average, give or take a little. Maybe like 5 times, like 4.5 to 5. However, if he was to hit perfectly optimally, like only hit 2nd and 3rd slot while 1st and 4th are still alive, he would effectively hit for 6 times his magic value in damage. So every magic he gets a lot of value. Like you compare that to a full AoE troop, he's on average hitting more additional damage than something that hits all enemies simultaneously. Though, of course, these days we do have like 2 times boost ratios for that. In the case of Stellaryx, he's what, 3.1 times boost ratio? So compared to that, he's lower effective damage, as something like Stellaryx is what, a 12.4 times effective damage per magic, whereas he's basically half that at anywhere from 4.5 to 6. But still, that's better than your average legend. That's better than your average mythic. Obviously, Stellaryx is quite an outlier as far as his damage potential. But yeah, he's nice middle range for that. I personally don't feel like he's going to be used too much, because obviously if you own Stellaryx, you're never touching this. Honestly, even if you own one of the Celestial Dragons, that kind of damage ratio that you have, probably still better than him. However, he does have the benefit of concentrating damage. So when there's only 1 enemy left, 2 enemies left, that's when he's really, really good. And it synergizes really well with Urskaya, as there are a lot of Urskaya mechanics that kind of thin out the team, like, not you. Like Doomclaw, even in Rage Carandera or Carandera, when you run them, they have Doom Skulls, so they end up hitting out first slot. So there are a lot of things in the kingdom that kind of synergize him with it pretty well. Obviously, there's a ton of it in Rage, so he gets even more, a little bit of damage, while pretty underwhelming boost ratio. You know, 8 extra damage is not bad per hit. So, especially with how he ratios up to potentially 6 times the damage from each magic, so he gets a decent amount of value there. It's not something you're going to be using on any team. Like, a team like this, even though it worked out the best out of any of them, you're not really running this team. Like, this team is not carried necessarily by Bieska being here. It's carried by the fact that this team, you can put anything that does magic boost ratio good here, and it'll do very similar. It's mostly just the magic boost ratio thing, which he has. He has effectively up to 6 times extra value from every magic he has, which is not bad. But overall, it's a pretty skippable mythic. You're only really picking this up if you feel like you want something better for Urskaya. I would say he's a pretty big pickup if you're missing every bad mythic from, every good mythic, from Urskaya. The easiest way to check if you really need this mythic, well, for what, if you have more than half the mythics in the game, you should always go for every new mythic. But if you're a newer player wondering if you should get this guy, basically look at your Urskaya troops mythics and see if you have any of these 3. If the answer is no, then you might want to pick this up, especially if you only have one of these 2. Because if you have absolutely none of these, then you might want to wait for the next Urskaya event and just event key for it. If you have only like one of these, then it would be a pretty good idea to pick it up. And honestly, even if you have 2 of them just to finish it out. So I guess, honestly, under any context, I guess it's okay for completion's sake. But if you're missing absolutely every single one of these mythics, and we get like an Urskaya event week in like 3 weeks from now or something, I have no clue when the next one is. But there's not too much to work with. You got to use like King Mikhail. Beastmaster's too annoying. This is 50% mana starts for Urskaya, but beyond that, like you're basically spamming King Mikhail. I think even when we were running it for the yellow magic bonus, because sometimes it's Urska restriction, I was running like 2 King Mikhails and Urskula and a wand, even when I had the mythics. But now, you would definitely run Bieska. The amount of damage concentration that it has in that context is just really, really solid. So, yeah, way more consistent than Doomclaw, way more consistent than Karaderas, as these are mostly for cursing, not necessarily for damage, even though they do have damage options. They just haven't really had mana costs. But yeah, overall, pretty nice mythic, very situational, mostly under Urskaya restriction. But beyond that, definitely worthwhile to have a very strong Urskaya for a Urskaya restriction. But anyways, guys, I'll wrap it up for now. If you still have any other questions, feel free to leave in the comment section below. Definitely feel free to leave a like on the video. Helps out, is greatly appreciated. Hope you all have the best of luck if you're going to be trying for the Mythic this week. You have all the way until Friday reset time, end of Thursday, to go and try to get this guy. Otherwise, after that, you're going to either have to event key for during an Urska event, or wait until it rotates in Soulforge, which could be as early as probably September or so. Though it could be as late as later this year, so it could still be a while. Anyways, guys, thank you so much for watching. All the teams are in the description if you want to go and copy paste any of them. And I'll catch you guys later. Goodbye, everyone. And thanks for watching.